All right, so Deborah, can you tell us how you got involved in motorsport and how long you've been involved?
Well, hi everybody. I've been involved in motorsport for 38 years. I started out drag racing and I also did some demolition derbies. I know.
That's so cool.
um, Ever since I was a little girl, I always loved cars. And I have a twin brother and I always played with his cars and I was always the daredevil with the dinkies going down, really big hills and stuff. I knew that I had something in me. I had nobody to follow up. A lot of people have brothers, uncles, or whatever that's been in the motorsport industry. I've had nobody. So I've done everything all on my own. I got a HT Holden when I was 17 years old and did it up. And I used to do all my own servicing, put spoilers on, paint it, did everything, loved it. And then I started to drag race. And it was called the Powder Puff. And it was at Castlereagh Drags. And I did 14.9 down the quarter mile. So that's pretty fast for a little HT Holden or HT Holden. And that's about it.
Okay.
And I used to have a boyfriend that was a mechanic. So we used to go to all the V8, well, it was touring cars then. Every second weekend, they either had a meeting at Amaroo Park or Oran Park. So my weekends was motorsport. Every Friday night was Liverpool Speedway. Saturday night was, at that time, Granville Speedway in Sydney. And then Sundays we had the touring cars with Peter Brock and Dick Johnson and stuff. So, yeah, I've always loved motorsport. I was just born like it, just to love cars.
That's great. So how did you start on your officiating journey?
I started become a scrutineer 3 years ago. I firstly started out in pit lane and then I went to grid marshalling and I knew that I wanted to start scrutineering as I had quite some knowledge about cars. So I decided to apply for the scrutineering role and have been doing and enjoying this wonderful journey for 3 years. I started out straight away in national, but I also scrutineer for club and I do international racing events.
Okay, so what is involved in being a scrutineer?
The requirements are very different from club racing to national and international racing. With club level, we still do our inspections around the car, checking seatbelts, lights, stickers, numbers and cars, etc. We still fill in all the CAM's drivers' logbooks and we check all the drivers' apparel. With national and international, that is very, very hands-on. We check again all the apparel, driving suits, shoes, socks, helmets, even their underwear.
Really?
Yeah, with their long johns. So we have to check everything, all their socks. But it's you've got to go into their trucks and everything's all laid out and we have to go through if it's FAI approved. Everything has to be checked, documented. Even their balaclavas, etc. So everything has to be checked, documented and make sure they're all in date. We also do the pit crew, which all could be up to like 13 pit crew members, but we mainly check the refuelers, the firemen and the fuel rigger.
Mm-hmm.
Their seat belts, we monitor their racing nets, wheel tethers. A lot of people don't know what wheel tethers are, but they're connected to the uptights, chest and the wheel brace. So then if the tyre comes off, the tether actually holds the tyre on. So it can't go flying, but it has done with supercars, as it happened last year in Gold Coast. A tyre went flying, but it's very rare. So we do that as a safety measure now. So that all has to be checked. Their roll cages, their harnesses, their fuel tanks, fire extinguishers, also make sure that if they're still in date, we do a pre-race inspection that has been done, and we put a sticker on the back of the car, of the back window, saying that it's been checked. And during the weekends, we do little checks now and then. So every day we're always doing something. Then we make sure that all the petrol bowsers that are out in pit lane, that they have been all earthed. We make sure that after each race, that the team manager, that cars that come into Supercars pit lane, we get selected with 6 scrutineers. We have 2 they come in to be weighed. We've got to check their wing, their weight check. We do the front and rear track and wheelbase checks. We do a front bar, which I've got a photo to show you. This is what we do. So we have 2 at the front there, and then that goes under the car, and then that's got to measure halfway on that wheel and where the rim is. So that's all that. We've got everybody watching us doing that, which is a little bit daunting, but yeah. But it's very exciting because the drivers come in. We've got to weigh everything.
So yeah, that's a lot more involved than what people would definitely
A lot of people
realise.
don't know what we actually do. We do a lot more than what I'm going to be saying today, but yeah, it's a lot.
So people got some questions for Deborah on being a scrutineer. You get to play with cars.
The one thing I've often wanted to ask is, because we in timing often see scrutineers at the start of the day or the end of the day, but one thing was during a race, I know scrutineers might have to check vehicles that have been in an incident to check they're okay before they go back out, but what else do you get involved with, like during events?
During the event, we actually get 2 scrutineers in each pit garage, which we have to monitor all the pit stops to make sure that they're doing all their protocols and everything right. I did notice, and I won't say where it was, but one pit crew put another driver's tyres on the other car. So I've had to report that. And then after the race, that's when it's up to the technical manager to get the cars to come in, and he'll tell us what cars that he wants into the pit garage. Then they all go into parc ferme, which means do not touch the car until we have to all stand. We all get chosen. So whoever they get picked, which I'm being fortunate that I get picked every time, which is great. And I get to, and they say, I always go to my favourite garage, but and then we stand behind the car. So we've got to make sure that nobody touches those cars. However, they're allowed to take the tyres off by checking, well, not tyres off, but they're allowed to check how the pressure of the tyres are. That's the only thing they're allowed to check. Then after that, they cannot touch that car whatsoever until the technical manager comes down and says, right, release that car, release that car. There's been times that we could stay there. If it's a last race at, say, 5 o'clock, I could be out the front of that car till 8:30 at night. We are the first people that start in the morning, and we are the last to leave. Everybody's gone home, and yet if you get picked to do supercars, you've got to stay there until they release that car. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting, and it's a lot of hours. We could do up to 16 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Especially 12-hour or 6-hour an event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question, Rochelle.
Yeah.
Deborah, what sort of training do you do to become a scrutineer, or do you learn on the job, or a bit of both?
You do a little bit of both, but it's very good to have a bit of technical advice. Like you're better off having some knowledge, because if you don't know about cars, there's no use of you coming into scrutineering, because you've got to know a lot about motors. You can learn as you go. We also have to seal engines. Now that's only probably for the Super 2s and Super 3s and other vehicles that's lower. So they can't tamper with their motor. And we seal engines. And what we do, we use a wire, and it goes through the top of the rocker cover, and it threads through, and we've got to tie it up. And then we use a special brass clip that we clip onto it. So if they go to tamper with it, they can't, because the clip will actually snap in half, and it's all numbered. So we have to then again monitor it all, write down all the numbers, what that clip was, and then yeah, so that's what we do. We also do infringement notices as well for cheats, and impound cars if they don't do what we've told them to do. Yeah, so it's good. You can learn a lot on the job, which I have, and I'm learning every time. It's fantastic. I love it.
Great. Well, thank you, Deborah. Now, Deborah's one of our mentors in the Mentoring Network. So if anyone's interested in becoming a scrutineer, Deborah will help you on your journey. So thank you so much, Deborah.